Good morning, everyone. I am back, and I want to welcome you to Storytime with Rob. As you can see, it's an absolutely beautiful day. We've had such great weather. I'm taking advantage of it, so I'm going to be outside today. Excuse my prescription sunglasses, but today I have a great story for you, and I want you to see if you can figure out the ending before I get there. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. This one is called Sparky Was a Loser. When he was a little boy, the other children called him Sparky, after a comic strip horse named Sparkplug. Sparky never did shake that nickname. School was all but impossible for Sparky. He failed every subject in the 8th grade. Every subject. He flunked physics in high school, received a flat 0 in the course. He distinguished himself as the worst physics student in his school's history. He also flunked Latin and algebra and English. He didn't do much better in sports either, although he managed to make the school golf team. He promptly lost the only important match he had that year. There was a consolation match, but Sparky lost that one as well. Throughout his youth, Sparky was awkwardly unsocial. He was not actually disliked by the other youngsters. No one even cared much about him. He was astonished if a classmate ever said hello to him outside of school hours. There's no way to tell how he might have done at dating in high school. Sparky never once asked a girl out. He was much too afraid of being turned down. Sparky was a loser. He, his classmates, and everyone knew it. So he rolled with it. Sparky made up his mind early in life that if things were meant to work out, they would. Otherwise, he would content himself with what appeared to be inevitable mediocrity. But here's the rest of the story. One something was important to Sparky: drawing. He was proud of his own artwork, and of course no one else appreciated it. In his senior year of high school, he submitted some cartoons to the editors of his class yearbook. Almost predictably, Sparky's drawings were rejected. While the young man had stoically rationalized virtually all of his failures, therefore, too, he was rather hurt by the general ignorance of what he believed was his one natural talent. In fact, he was so convinced of his artistic ability that he decided to become a professional artist, which is something I can relate to. Not an easy thing to do. Upon graduating high school, he wrote a letter to Walt Disney Studios. A letter indicating his qualifications to become a cartoonist for Disney. Shortly after, he received an answer. It was a form letter requesting that he'd send some samples or examples of his artwork. Subject matter was suggested. For instance, a Disney cartoon character repairing a clock by shoveling the springs and gears back into inside it. Sparky drew the proposed cartoon scene. He spent a great deal of time on that and the other drawings. A job with Disney would be impressive, and there would be many doubters in his life to impress. Sparky mailed the form and his drawings to the Disney Studios. He waited and waited. One day the reply came. It was another form letter, very politely composed. It said this: Disney Studios hired only the very finest artists, even for their routine background work. It had been determined from the drawings which Sparky had submitted that he was not one of the very fine artists that they employ. In other words, he did not get the job. I think deep down, Sparky expected to be rejected. He had always been a loser, and this was simply one more loss. So you know what Sparky did? He wrote his autobiography in cartoons. He described his childhood self, the little boy loser, the chronic underachiever, in cartoon character the whole world now knows. For the boy who failed the entire 8th grade, the young artist whose work was rejected not only by Walt Disney Studios, but his own high school yearbook, the young man was Sparky Charles Monroe Schultz. He created the Peanuts comic strip and the little boy cartoon whose kite would never fly, Charlie Brown. Hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope you figured it out before I got there. I hope you have a most beautiful day as the weather is fantastic. Until tomorrow, be safe.